Thanksgiving's almost here, so today I'm going to make you a couple of my favorite Thanksgiving cocktails. The first one I'm going to do is Grey Goose Ginger Joy. I created this when Grey Goose vodka first came out, about Grey Goose La Poire vodka, their pear vodka, first came out in 2006. And this became the signature cocktail for the holiday season. I have a couple of versions of this. I'm going to make the muddled version. You can pick up the simpler version that uses Canton ginger liqueur as the base on my Substack Bartender in the Kitchen. But let's have at this one. Take one lemon cut into wedges. I've got a knob of fresh ginger. I'm going to take about a teaspoon of grated fresh ginger. One of my favorite ingredients, Hella Bitters ginger bitters. I'm going to put a couple of dashes on that. That's going to add a layer of complexity to the drink. Then we go right to our Grey Goose La Poire, the pear vodka, perfectly seasonal. 2 parts of that. 1 part of my Liquor 43, one of my favorite cordials. 43 herbs and spices that predominantly turn out to be vanilla. Then we're going to use some simple syrup just to balance out the sweetness and give it a little more mouthfeel. Great. We'll start by icing this down. And as I always say, shake like you're angry, look like you're in love. All right, I think we've got a good cocktail here. Come on, baby. All right, now we're going to double strain that, which means we're going to go from one strainer right through a tea strainer to get out all the pulp from the lemon and the ginger and everything else that we got going on here. Okay. That a little shake to get it all out. Now you can garnish this with some crystallized ginger. You can garnish it with almost anything you like, just some fresh mint. Because it's Thanksgiving, I'm going to use a couple of cranberries. And I'm going to grate some fresh nutmeg on top to make it seasonal. You can also use a little bit of pumpkin pie spice, which comes off pretty great. Let's see how this puppy tastes. Oh my goodness, that is so good. As always, drink responsibly. The next Thanksgiving cocktail I want to make for you is called the Paladin Pear. It's named after a very famous French chef named Jean-Louis Paladin, who owned a restaurant called Jean-Louis at the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C. He was one of the first people to come over and challenge the Nouvelle Cuisine and do modern French cuisine in the U.S. He was a great guy, died very young at 55 from cancer, so I'm sorry that he's not here to see this video, but I met him a long time ago and he told me a couple of his favorite ingredients were green chartreuse and pears. So I'm going to make this drink in honor of Jean-Louis Paladin. He did get to taste it many years ago before he passed away. I'm going to start by making the garnish, which is a bruleed pear. Now you don't have to do this. You can do a simple dried pear, some mint, whatever you like, but this is kind of fun. So I've got a mandolin here. I've got a pear that I've cut in half, and I'm wearing safety gloves. And all we do is give this a little swipe, and you'll see I've got this beautiful shaved pear. We're gonna come right back, and I'm gonna brulee that for you. So we've got our beautiful shaved pear. Now I'm gonna sprinkle it with some turbinado sugar. I'm gonna get it an even coat. It doesn't have to be heavy, just enough to get some on there. And we're gonna use one of my favorite tools, the kitchen torch. You know, our boys and our fire, right? We gotta have it. Here we go. So we're just gonna let this melt the sugar on top until it browns. That's gonna be called bruleeing, like a creme brulee or other things. It's gonna be a little brown, a little crusty, a little crunchy, but all pear. This is fantastic. And then we're gonna put this aside and make the drink. Now, if you don't have a kitchen torch, don't worry about it. You can just use the shaved pear, or you can use a dried pear, or even an apple chip, anything you like. We're done with that. Look how beautiful that looks. We're gonna put this to the side, then we're gonna come back and make the drink. We're ready to make our Paladin Pear. So we're gonna start by taking a couple of lemon wedges, 2, 3, 4, depending on their size. We're just gonna squeeze them and drop them into the shaker here, right? Get the juice. That'll get extracted a little bit more when we shake the drink. Then we're gonna take 2 parts of gin. I'm using Hendrick's here. You can use whatever you like. You can also switch this up and use vodka, white rum, something along those lines. All right, so I have 2 parts of gin. Now I'm going to use 1 part of, the drink calls for green chartreuse, but there's a shortage in the world of green chartreuse. So I'm using one of my other favorite cordials, Faccia Brutto. So you can buy this Total Wine and other liquor stores around the country. Really great stuff. Tastes pretty darn close to chartreuse. I'm going to use 3/4 of a part of that. There's very strong flavors. We're going to put a dash of simple syrup, just to balance out, helps the mouthfeel and balances out the sweetness. Now we're going to use some pear nectar. I've got nuts and organic here. I'm going to use 2 parts of that because this is a pear drink. So we want it to be predominantly pear flavored, super seasonal and ready to go. Let's shake this puppy up. That sounds pretty good. Now, let's get our caramelized pear, right? That bruleed pear that we did. We're going to slip that into the edge of the wine glass. You see how beautiful that looks? We're going to put a couple of cubes in here. And now we're going to strain this drink into the wine glass. This is both an elegant, very supple, very, very flavorful pear drink. Cheers. Jean-Louis knew what he was doing. Pear and chartreuse, it's a great combo. All right, thank you. Last Thanksgiving cocktail I want to show you is called the Wise Old Sage. Other times I've called it Sage Advice. We're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to make a pitcher drink, right? I don't know about you, but on Thanksgiving or any time when you're entertaining, I don't want to be behind the bar making 20 drinks all night long. I just want to sit there and enjoy my company. So I learned to batch cocktails in a specific way. This is one of the most food-friendly cocktails I've ever had. You're going to love it. I'm going to start by taking a pitcher. There we go. Take sage. Is this the holiday season or what? I'm going to drop that into the bottom of the pitcher. I'm going to take about half a cucumber, give or take. Doesn't have to be exact. I've just diced this one up and put it in there. I'm going to take a couple of ounces of simple syrup. All right, notice I'm using a measuring cup. I'm making for a crowd, so we want this to work out well for everybody. I'm going to pull out the big gun again and muddle this down. Give me a second. Wow, that smells like the holidays already. Now, I'm going to use tequila for this one. You can use white rum, you can use vodka, you can use gin, you can use mezcal if you want. Never tried it with a brown spirit because it's a lighter cocktail. The cucumber gives it a little bit lightness and freshness. The sage is very robust. Happen to like it with tequila? Choose what you like. We're going to do 16 ounces of tequila. I'm using Cazadores Reposado. So it's just been kissed with wood, gives it a little hint of smoky flavor. One of my favorite of the budget tequilas that are out there. I'm going to use 8 ounces of Saint Germain elderflower liqueur. This is going to give it the exotic notes, very fresh. You can use Canton ginger, you can use Liquor 43 if you prefer. You can use almost anything you like. And then we're going to use 8 ounces of fresh squeezed lime juice. Okay, give that a second. Now, how are you going to shake this? It's a big one, right? So we're going to start by doing this. We're going to take a second pitcher. This is a technique called rolling. We're going to put ice in this pitcher. Give me a second. Now, I'm going to roll this back and forth. One pitcher into the other. Okay, later on, well, we'll do this now. I'm going to strain this out. Get a fine mesh strainer if you like. You don't have to do this. You can strain everything off. Now you've got a perfect cocktail for 10 people or more. Let's give this a whirl. I love this drink. This is so yummy for this time of year. I'll pour that off. Now I've got some shaved cucumber and I've got some sage leaves. I'm just going to float the cucumber and the sage, and there you have it. Wise Old Sage, one of the best Thanksgiving cocktails you're ever going to have. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Now, I'm not actually entertaining tonight. So I'm gonna pour this off into another pitcher that I can stick in the freezer, and I'm gonna have it whenever I come back from Thanksgiving and want a cocktail ready to go. Don't be afraid to hang on to this stuff. It really works. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.